Okay, everybody, I'm actually back. I didn't expect to be back today, but I thought of some things that are very important. It's Saturday, February 17th, and as you can see, I'm back in the shop, and I'm actually making another video. Before I get to the important part, there's a few things I want to talk about. This is one of my custom builds that's here for some software work and to have a few minor issues looked at. I think the biggest issue is there's a Windows update that has gone minorly south, and when I say minorly south, it's because it didn't nowhere near hose the entire machine. The machine is still usable, but there are some minor annoyances that are occurring that the client wanted me to look at while he was away at a funeral. And I've looked at them, and I think we're going to have to wait for a repair update to come out from Microsoft, which is going to stink. But there's not too much else I can do about that. These two laptops over here, they're both getting general checkouts. One of which is getting antivirus on it. Both of these are going to have antivirus software installed on them. And then they will be going back to their owners. The big thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is kind of a follow-up to the secure deletion video that is uploading on YouTube now as I'm recording this. And that's that people are going to ask me, why can't you just put your hard drive in the transfer station? Isn't the transfer station reclamator supposed to take care of all this? The answer to that question is yes, he is, but we don't know if he actually is. And for those of you that live locally, the Litchfield County Computer, which is in Woodbury, for those that don't know, I asked our first selectman quite a while ago if in fact this was the case, and the best answer that he could give me at the time was that he didn't know. He assumed that the reclamator was doing it, but he didn't know, and people better be safe than sorry. The reason I bring this up is because there have been cases in the past where reclamators and even hard drive manufacturers did not securely destroy a hard drive, and then that hard drive that was supposed to wind up in the garbage wound up back out in the public and wound up in somebody else's hands. This is the last thing you want. In fact, if that had happened with the hard drive that I just securely destroyed, the results of that occurring would be catastrophic because of what was on that drive. But that has happened, and that's why we do secure deletion. And I'm going to tell a story now. There was an elderly gentleman. I had heard about this story some years ago because it was big enough that it made the security news wires when it happened because of the companies that were involved. There was an elderly gentleman that I believe was in his 80s, that lived in Chicago. And he had a laptop, I believe it was, that was brand new, and he brought it to Geek Squad. And I want to say that he actually knew that the hard drive was failing, because when he brought it in, he specifically told the Geek Squad technician that he spoke to that he wanted the old hard drive back. And the technician would say, nope. The technician said, no problem. We'll take care of it. You'll get your old hard drive back. And he went back to the Geek Squad store several days later. And by the way, I could probably do a whole separate video just on Geek Squad, Staples, and those types of companies and why you really don't want to use them, but that's another video for another day. He went back a couple days later to see what the status was of his computer and to get his hard drive, and when he went back there, he spoke to the technician, the same technician again, which told him that the computer was being repaired. However, they could not give him back his old hard drive because, as it turned out, the hard drive was under manufacturer warranty still, and it had to go back to the manufacturer. They had no choice, which that is in fact a policy. If you have a defective drive, which, as you know, I just had this happen, the drive does have to go back to the manufacturer to get the warranty replacement drive. In fact, Monday afternoon I have such a hard drive coming back from the hard drive that failed in my brand new custom build, which everybody saw in a previous video. So yes, that is in fact a policy for those that are wondering. And he begrudgingly, the elderly gentleman begrudgingly accepted this because the technician explained to him that they had no choice in the matter. It had to go back. And it went back to the manufacturer. And when they enter the manufacturer's facility, they're supposed to be looked at to determine what's wrong, determine that yes, in fact, they are in warranty, determine yes, in fact, we have a valid RMA number and we can accept this drive. And then they are supposed to go through a secure deletion process, and then the replacement drives are supposed to be sent out. However, in this case, that did not happen. There was a follow-up at the manufacturer, and somehow this drive was verified for warranty, but it was never securely deleted, and it wound up, of all places, on eBay. Yes, it wound up on eBay, where a gentleman from Florida bid on it. And the gentleman from Florida won this drive, and I guess he was expecting a blank drive. I never saw the actual eBay auction that took place for this drive, but I guess he was expecting a blank refurbished hard drive. And when he got it, much to his surprise, the drive contained data. And the drive contained, from what he could tell, very personal data, among which was the phone number of the original owner, the elderly gentleman in Chicago. So he called the elderly gentleman up and he explained who he was and where he was, and he explained to the gentleman that, I think I have your hard drive. And of course, the elderly gentleman, who was in total shock, had the caller do some things with the hard drive to verify that it was in fact his. Look at some files, I believe, and look for certain files, and he did find them. And the elderly gentleman arranged for the gentleman in Florida that had the drive to ship the drive back to him, which the gentleman in Florida did. The gentleman in Chicago then went back to Geek Squad and threw a fit. And I can't remember whether Geek Squad got sued over this incident. I don't think they did. He just threw a fit and then informed the media about what happened, which is how come this story made it into the news wires, and I can talk about it now. But the lesson here is you cannot even trust a hard drive manufacturer to do the job that they're supposed to do when it comes to your data. In a lot of cases, what I will do is I will pull a drive out of a computer and I will give it back to its owner. In fact, I've had jobs come in here where I was specifically asked to do just that and only that. But secure deletion can be an extremely important thing to do. And I wanted to tell everyone the story about the elderly gentleman in Chicago to illustrate exactly why it was so important, because these stories don't make it out into mainstream media very often, if at all. The site that I read this on was one of my security news sites that I travel to on a daily basis just to see what we have going on out here. And this never made it into traditional media, so a lot of people that are not into computers are not going to be aware of exactly what goes on, which is not a good thing. I will see everyone next time. As always, feel free to rate, comment, like, subscribe. And at the rate things are going, I may very well come back to you Monday. See everyone soon. Bye-bye.